On August 13, 2018, a Canadian-wide public service announcement was released by the Canadian Blood Services indicating the need for 22,000 blood donations by August 26th. This is Jim. He identifies as a man who has sex with other men. He heard the public service announcement and wants to become a donor. What Jim does not realize yet is that he will not be able to give blood. This is because the current Canadian Blood Services policy is that MSM are ineligible to donate blood if they have had sexual contact with another man within the last year. Why is this? In the 1980s, HIV was seen primarily in gay young men, and it was also discovered that it was transmissible through blood products. As screening technology for HIV was unavailable, it was found that 1,200 Canadians were infected with HIV through tainted blood transfusions. Screening was discovered and implemented in the policy in 1985. Despite this, all demographics continued to be infected. Another consideration in the creation of the policy in effort to control incidence of HIV is the economic cost of treating an individual with HIV. It is estimated at $1.3 million throughout their lifetime. Who initiated this policy? In effort to prioritize the safety of blood products and knowing that MSM account for the highest proportion of individuals newly infected with HIV, the Canadian Red Cross Blood Transfusion Services created the donor criterion policy, excluding MSM indefinitely in 1988. As this policy was regulated by Health Canada in 1992, Canadian Blood Services has made changes to the policy by creating a 5-year deferral period, then a 1 year since last sexual contact. So does this policy do what it intends? Since implementation of the policy, transmission of HIV through transfusion of contaminated blood products has almost been eliminated. In Canada, Katie reports that since the screening of all blood products, the risk of transmission through blood products is extremely low. For example, in the US, it's 1 in 1.5 million. So yes, it does what it intends. However, presently, this is an overly dated and cautious approach. The policy is overly strict and was initiated in a time when screening for HIV and treatment was limited. The current screening technologies and research shows that HIV is highly manageable and detectable, making risk for transmission very low, which makes this policy unjust. Canadian Blood Services is continuously looking for blood donations. In 2014, Stats Canada released that approximately 62,000 of Canadians, 1.7%, identified as homosexual, lesbian, and gay, and 48,000, 1.3%, identified as bisexual. The policy eliminates an entire community and tens of thousands of potential donors that can help save lives. What is the impact on the LGBTQ community? This policy continues to impact discrimination and societal perceptions and is seen by them as a form of microaggression, as they are not truly supported or protected by the government or its institutions. This form of institutionalized heteronormativity can promote stigma and impact their sense of being and confidence in their safety and the place in the community. LGBTQ gender identity is stigmatized by the policy, impacting their social determinants of health of gender, social support, and coping skills. In turn, they may feel alone, unwanted, and with little social support. This can lead to negative health consequences and unhealthy coping behaviors. The pre-screening process is also discriminatory as it is not gender neutral. It treats all MSM as having the same high level of risk, ignoring differences such as whether the potential donor is in a monogamous relationship or has multiple sex partners, whether he uses condoms or not, and what types of sexual practices he engages in. Conversely, the policy treats all non-MSM as having the same level of low risk. For example, with the current screening questions, a heterosexual man who frequently engages in unprotected sex with multiple partners would be allowed to donate blood. What's in place for the future? In Canada, there is a request to reduce the deferral period from 1 year to 3 months. Trudeau's government has promised to eliminate the policy, and the LGBTQ groups and the Canadian AIDS Society are advocating for a gender-neutral policy. So how do nurses feel? What are the nursing implications? Many nurses oppose this policy in the US, Canada, and other countries due to its discriminatory nature and believe that the negative consequences of changing the policy are outweighed by the benefits of increasing the donor pool. Many of these nurses have been successful in advocating for change and supportive policies that are driven by health equity, inclusiveness, and gender neutrality. For example, Nurse Blake, a social media nursing star from the US and identified MSM, created the Ban for Life movement, which led to the FDA lifting the indefinite ban for MSM to a 1-year deferral period, showing the power of nursing action. The nursing standards of practice state that it is our responsibility to support community action and advocate for social and health equity. By promoting changes to and advocating for a change to this policy, nurses are following the ethical principles of beneficence, to do good, non-maleficence, to do no harm, and justice, while reducing social discrimination and public inequities. What do we recommend? As this policy is based on an outdated mentality and fear, further education is needed regarding HIV infection. To further promote inclusivity, the pre-screening questionnaire should include non-discriminatory and gender-neutral questioning, looking specifically for high-risk behaviors and not sexual partner preferences. By advocating to eliminate this policy, we can work to decrease the discrimination towards MSM while also maintaining public service by coordinating screening processes and increasing the donor pool to meet community needs.